name is Jenna Marbles, and I'm going to draw my life.
I was born in Irvine, California on June 21st, 1997. It was a Saturday. Sorry to disappoint some of you guys.
Oh hey, I'm Kingsley. I'm not an artist, so bear with me as I attempt to draw my life.
It all started for me in a little old farmhouse in little old Stuart, Iowa. Ever since I could talk, I had a passion for agriculture. Daddy grew corn and soybeans, and Mama and I raised a brood of hens in the backyard. Uncle Kevin even worked for this place called ISU Extension, which when I was little was just a big word that I couldn't really understand. But now I know that it's a group that does practical research and provides information about agriculture to people outside the realm of the ag ed classroom. In elementary school, I used to always bring our hens in for show and tell. Some of my friends thought they smelled bad, but most of them lived on farms too, so they understood. I remember walking around school as a little third grader, looking up at these big high schoolers wearing these really strange blue jackets. But when I got to high school, I started wearing one too. My advisor, Mr. Jones, was a big part of my life in high school. He inspired me to go to college to be an ag teacher just like him. In the spring of my high school graduation, I got my acceptance letter in the mail from Iowa State University, a land-grant university thanks to the Morrill Act of 1862. And then I went away to college and met all these amazing people just like me and learned all about how to be an ag teacher. I majored in agricultural education, which by definition is the scientific study of principles and methods of teaching as they pertain to agriculture. Getting my teaching license was quite the experience. I had to take these two awful tests called Praxis 1 and Praxis 2 and put together this really intricate e-portfolio and spend like 800 million hours in different ag ed classrooms. But I made it and I graduated with all my friends and got my teaching license. Yay! In the fall, I started teaching at Guthrie Center High School, which was nice because it was really close to home, which meant easy access to support from Mama and Daddy and advice from Mr. Jones. My first year flying solo was crazy, because I was creating all these lesson plans and forming all these working relationships with my colleagues and trying to maximize FFA involvement and going on SAE visits and practicing for CDEs and trying to have a social life. I actually remember calling Mr. Jones one night and blaming him for all of my problems because no one prepared me for how stressful this is. Eventually, after 2 or 3 years, I learned how to balance my time and my classroom environment. I have a poster of the Ag Ed model hanging up in my classroom as a constant reminder to strive for the not-so-achievable perfect ratio between instruction, SAE, and FFA. I realized down the line that all those lesson plans that I wrote during the first year paid off. Having lesson plans to look back to is extremely beneficial, especially if I get really lost on how to get the students excited about the lesson. However, my lessons are by no means always taught the same way. I am constantly following Reconstructionist and Existentialist schools of thought, and adapting and changing my lessons to meet the needs of my different students and allowing them to meet their full potential. One thing I do struggle with sometimes, especially with my early morning classes, is motivating the students. Some of them are intrinsically motivated, but I find that sometimes they just aren't interested in the topic. I am very pragmatic in these situations, getting them excited with my anticipatory sets and allowing them to work hands-on, anything I can do to extrinsically motivate them. Speaking of hands-on learning, sorta, all of my students are required to have a supervised agricultural experience project. A majority of my students are also in 4-H clubs and have been since kindergarten, so they already have projects that they can develop for their SAEs. SAEs really get my students excited, and I thank Rufus Stimson every day for creating his project method, which became the basis for SAEs and projects used in other vocational education settings. My favorite part about being an agricultural educator is being able to teach my students and also learn from them at the same time. They get lots of formal education in their English and history classes, but the non-formal learning we do in my class is something that both the students and myself learn and benefit from. It's now January, and Leadership CDE Practices has started up yet again. I'll be spending a lot of time with my students these next few months, practicing for public speaking, ag sales, and conduct of meetings, to name a few. I still get calls from Mr. Jones every now and then. The last call I got from him was a quick, friendly reminder to keep everything professional this CDE season. He's constantly looking out for me to make sure I'm always being ethical and following the standards set by the Board of Educational Examiners, so I don't get my teaching license compromised. He knows a guy who got a letter of reprimand once, and he is always worried about license suspension or revocation. What a worrywart he is. Well, that's all for me for now. I have to go clean up. I'm going on a date tonight, do you believe that? My first date since college. I guess that's what you get for choosing to be an agricultural educator.